Hijack.
I probably would have opened that. I like the 10-8
Really?
suited a lot more than the 7-5. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, the chip leader was on the button though. I can't, and he was playing aggressive. I was kind of scared he was just gonna three-bet
No,
me.
it's fine. I mean, it's definitely marginal from ICM perspective.
And that guy, and also that guy is very short in the small. You know, if he shoves,
True. Yeah, that's a good point. You always got to
Bit of
pay
a
attention to the stacks to your left that you're opening into.
But I guess it would have worked. So that's annoying.
Yeah, but yeah, when that's the case, when we're worried about the big stacks or shorter stacks, we're more interested in having blocker hands. So the king 8 suited, the king 10 suited, obviously, like those type of hands, as opposed to 7-5 or like low cards that would play really well at a deeper stack level, but not so well shorter stack, because blockers matters a lot. We want to block those kings and those aces from our opponents, finding those hands behind us.
Yeah, so talking about blockers, I make a very questionable play here. So as you can see, I'm with a6 off, which is usually a bad play, a bad hand to open, especially with ICM and stuff. But you know, I look at her, she's in the big, she's pot committed, she has 2 bigs behind if even. So I'm like, okay, if I raise here and get it in against her, I'm in a great shape to pick up chips. So I'm like, this is the reason that I convinced myself to open here.
Yeah, the problem is that you have still 5 other players or 4 other players to worry about behind that can flat you or 3-bet you and wake up with better hands.
Yeah, so that was my mistake, a very bad mistake. And look what this guy does here with a6 as well.
Is his name really Luke Box?
I think so.
Like Luck Box?
I guess. I don't know if it's real name, but
okay. Yeah. So he's thinking about it with a6 off as well.
Yeah.
With 9 blinds. Wow.
And then he goes all in.
Oh my God. Like, really?
he goes all in. And then I'm like, looking back at it retrospect, I'm like, what are you doing? That's so bad. But
why he gets ace jack to fold. Yeah, he probably would have called, right?
Ace jack probably would have gone all in if he didn't shove.
Yeah. It's a tough spot though, versus under the gun. And knowing that you're racing into a short stack, so you're obviously committed to her. She should definitely call it off with 8-7 suited here. It's a great hand versus he hasn't folded ace jack yet. Oh yeah, he definitely would have played. Like judging by that reaction, facing 2 lines.
I ruined it for him. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Luke Box ruined it for him more so. You should have no business moving in with a6 there.
I don't know what he's doing there. So, and now I'm like in a really tough spot because I feel like I'm pot committed, but I know that I'm probably behind and I'm like hating my life.
Gotta fold. I mean, it's easy to be result oriented seeing the hands, but like this, the button should never go all in with a6 there. He should have you crushed.
Exactly.
And even if he has king 10 suited, and you're facing the big blinds range as well, so like you're not gonna win that often. It's gonna be very hard for you to fade all those outs. It's
funny, she's actually they said it and it's true. She's a favorite here against both of us.
Yeah, because you're blocking each other's outs. I don't know if they're counting the ace jack as well, the dead ace there. That's another thing. When I mean, I don't know how much you want to read into this, but when we saw the ace jack guy tying fold, right? So usually when that's the case, we know he has a pretty strong hand, right? That he wants to play. So that would make me think that one of our aces are dead.
Right. That's actually a very good tip. I actually told this to my friend. You can tell sometimes body tell, like
body language. Yeah.
If everybody folds quickly, no one folded an ace, and
exactly
vice versa.
For sure.
So I end up folding.
Just the way they tank. I mean, you were tanking with the 7-5 suit just for Hollywooding, but I mean, the ace jack guy had no reason to do so, right? Because he wasn't involved in the action anyway. So a ship leader opens cutoff, king 5 suited, pretty standard. Ooh, king 9 suited with.
I went all in.
Yeah, it's a bit aggro, obviously, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I think versus anyone else, it would be kind of suicidal. But versus the ship leader, I don't actually mind at all because Well, first of all, you have great blockers. You're blocking a lot of his stronger kings, like his ace kings, his pocket kings, king queen. And you could potentially get a hand like king 10 and king jack to fold, maybe even king queen offsuit. Yeah, just because he also wants to preserve his stack, right? Because if he's calling you off and ends up doubling you up, then all of a sudden you overtake the chip lead and your two is left. And he's all of a sudden down to a million chips or whatever, and he's like, you know, one of the short stacks. So he's giving up that advantage of the future EV of being able to open every hand and just take down the blinds and just playing small ball like that and increasing his stack with very low variance, as opposed to making a call with king jack offsuit in the spot where your range is so strong that he should be dominated a lot by, you know, you will have ace king, you will have king queen, you will have aces, you will have kings, you will have a lot of ace jack, you know, a lot of hands that are dominating his king jack. So I think you can definitely get some better kings to fold, and then obviously you're gonna get all of his bullshit to fold as well, like his 7-3 suited, like hands that just has equity versus your hand. So I don't like calling for that reason. And you know, even if you get called, even if he calls with ace queen, you still have, you know, 40%. Like it's not the end of the world. You still have a ton of equity with your hand. So, you know, worst case scenario, he calls with kings or ace king or whatever, and then you're in pretty rough shape. But still, that's gonna happen at such a low frequency. So I really don't mind it, to be honest.
Okay, so I have fours in the cutoff. I'm assuming I'm just jamming this.
Still 60K big blind, so yeah, 16 bigs. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is an all-in, just for the obvious reasons. Like we don't want a hand like Jack 10 to call in the big blind. Now this guy's tanking with threes.
I so wish he called, man.
There's no way he can call with threes here. Threes would be the
Oh,
worst
that would
calling.
be horrendous. He thinks about it though. He actually thinks about it. I don't think he was Hollywooding. And then he told me he made a sick fold with like a small pocket pair. I'm like, oh no, he probably had fives or something, but not threes.
All right, so what's going on here? Min raise, rebet from the chip later.
Under the gun raised ace 10 off. He min raised 300 here. I thought he was going to be much stronger than king 10, so that surprised me. And then I wake up with ace 8 in the big, obviously.
Yeah, he's a fold.
I kind of got saved, I guess, because he had ace 10.
Yeah, I think you should fold your ace 8 anyway.
Really? So you wouldn't even defend it against the under the gun?
No, not with ICM. It's the same concept as before with the king 5, where we got to be dominated by a lot of better aces in our opponent's range. And especially with ICM. With no ICM, I would defend ace 8 off here. But it is still pretty borderline. It doesn't play that great post flop, because even when we flop an ace, we got to be dominated a fair amount of time, and it's going to be tough for us to realize our equity and try to show down.
It's important to note as well, this guy was thinking about it with king 8, and every time I showed an ace, which was a lot because I got a lot of shitty aces, but I just showed the ace, he was like, what do you have, ace 3 off, ace 4 off? I'm like, you know, he was kind of like gutting for me in a way. He was like, oh, yeah. I know this guy's full of shit, because like, I guess he saw, by that point, he probably saw the king 7 off. Very aggressive to open a7, right?
Yeah, I don't like it, to be honest, especially with that stack depth and having the chip leader to dark left.
And then he ended up calling a6 suited.
Yeah, I don't like that either. He should 3-bet or fold. But I don't mind a 3-bet. I mean, as we can see, you know, we were worked. And but even in general, I think you can get a lot of better hands to fold, like the one he had. If you expect them to open a7 off, you know, you're going to get a lot of worse aces to fold, like a7 off, ace 8 off, ace 9 off, ace 10 off.
Well, we can see on the screen here, I actually had them both dominated somehow. I ended up folding, but I really considered.
No, you should definitely fold.
Because the board was pretty good.
Yeah.
That could have changed my whole tournament, because I'm probably getting it against the a6, check raising, and then, you know, I'm assuming he would be calling there, and then who knows. But,
yeah, but I mean, you're basically flipping.
So now look at the stocks. I mean, this is ridiculous. 4 bigs, 10 bigs.
Yeah. So that's something to take into consideration too, obviously. You know, we got to wait out. Even if she's playing super tight, like she's going to have to go all in at some point.
So I have king 6 suited on the button. I thought I had 10 bigs or 12, but it's actually closer to 14. Anyway, before I do anything, what do you prefer? I guess it's either shove or raise, right? You don't want to fold that from the button.
I think it's really close. The ship leaders in the big blind, right?
Yeah.
I think I would go all in.
Okay.
I don't like racing actually because I don't want him to defend.
It is important to note though that the chip leader did think I'm full of shit all the time, and so he's gonna call white. I think
he's not gonna call king 7 off or king 8 off.
Yes, I did not think he was gonna be that ICM unaware and call there.
Why he's calling ace 3 off here? Wow, that's atrocious.
I know, and when I saw that, I was like, my heart sank because I was like, another mistake that someone makes that's gonna cost me a lot of money.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you're at a table and you know that people aren't ICM aware, then that has to make you aware of the fact that people aren't ICM aware. So you need to adjust your strategy once again, because if you're playing ICM and you know, oh, well, there's no way he can call here because, you know, he has to consider ICM. If that's not the case, if the players are just playing ship EV, then you sort of have to play ship EV also, if that makes sense. I said we should play ship EV, and when other players are playing ship EV, I take that back. Actually, we should play tighter when people aren't ICM aware, because they are going to make these mistakes. So we're not going to get as many folds as we normally would. You know, this would be a totally standard all in a ship EV scenario, but in an ICM scenario as well, because he should fold a lot of better hands. But when that's not the case, then we obviously need to tighten up, and then we're gonna automatically profit by playing less hands, because these guys are just gonna get it in so bad, and they're gonna get it in versus each other in spots that they shouldn't. So we can just play tighter and let them make the mistakes. That's playing profitable poker as well. It might seem like a weak strategy, but it's actually the best one to tighten up when players are playing too loose and they're calling when they shouldn't. Then we just wait for good hands, and then when we're shoving ace queen here, you know, and he calls with ace 3, like we're loving life, but we gotta wait for those spots and maybe fold the king 6 here rather.
It's very frustrating. You saw how he was like, you know what, like F it, like let's go, like call, like with like a cycle, and obviously I don't hit my 40%. So that's the ending. Pretty depressing, honestly. That call I thought was atrocious, but I wasn't surprised. You know, it happened to me so many times. Yeah, it just sucks.
Yeah, that's not much you can do.
A professional would have snap folded there. So
yeah, of course. But that's where the value comes from. It's important to remember. I know it's frustrating in the moment. You see a mistake like this from somebody else costing you the tournament, basically. But at the same time, if we're thinking of it from a long-term perspective, this is the type of player that's actually bringing the value in the tournament. So we want to see these plays, because it means that poker is still very profitable and there's a lot of money to be made. It's just frustrating when it happens to you, but you love to see these kind of mistakes, you know, because
exactly. It's just been happening to me, and it's so funny because, you know, it's so funny that he calls it with the shitty hands and he still has me dominated, or like, you know, 60-40, but like why couldn't I just literally have their ace 4, ace anything? Then I see that call, I'm like, holy shit, like what a donation. But it just seems to be happening when I don't have it. But like you said, this could have been a mistake. GTO wise, I'm sure, you know, shoving is fine, like you said, but maybe with my tells on him and seeing how like full of shit he thought I was, I could have raise folded, or I probably would have raise folded. I don't think I have the strength to just open fold it from the button. But
no, I mean, it's, you know, poker isn't black and white. It's hard to say exactly what the optimal play is versus this type of opponent, because we don't know. We don't have all the information on how he thinks and how he perceives the game and what his strategy actually looks like. We don't know if he would have shoved the ace 3 or if he would have just called, and how he would have perceived, like how he would have continued post flop, depending on what the flop structure was look like. So there's a lot of unknowns, and it's hard to know for sure what the right optimal play here is. Like, I wouldn't blame you for doing anything, you know, like whether you're going all in, whether you're opening or folding. I think there's an argument to be made for all these options.
I'm actually surprised. All of the hands that we reviewed, it didn't seem like I thought I kind of butchered it, maybe. But it seems like you would have done almost the same with most hands, except maybe the ace-6.
Yeah, the ace-6 I wouldn't have touched. But other than that, I thought you played pretty well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Definitely better than the competition you were up against. So it means that you're profitable in this field. And this was a final 10, 12 players. So probably some of the best players in the field.